Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to another session of Economy this week, wherein we are going to cover economy-related articles from different newspapers such as Mint, Business Standard, etc. And the discussion covering the articles will be from the time period 23rd to 29th October 2025. We will have a comprehensive coverage of these articles so that you will be able to answer the questions not only coming in the prelims examination but also in the mains examination. If you're liking this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Let me begin with the first article. The municipal bonds now will be eligible for repo and reverse repo deals. This announcement has been done very recently by the Finance Ministry. What are the important points? Let's understand. First and foremost, there is a term called as repo and reverse repo. One of the important functions of Reserve Bank of India, when you study and if at all you have studied this, will be the monetary policy. Under the monetary policy, the most important policy tool used by RBI is repo. But please understand this, repo is a short form of a terminology called as repurchasing order. It represents a process repurchasing order. What is this repurchasing order? Repurchasing order simply means one party will sell the asset to another party with the promise of repurchasing the asset on a specific date at a specific price. I'll repeat it. What is a repurchasing order? One party will sell the asset to another party with the promise of repurchasing the asset on a specific date at a specific price. This is called as a repurchasing order. Point number two. Although you discuss the repos in the context of Reserve Bank of India, please do not assume that repo means only RBI. Repo transactions or repo deals can be done by other entities in the market as well. This is right certain very important points. Now let me go to the next important concept here. There is a terminology municipal bonds. What is this idea for municipal bond? Bond first and foremost simply means a debt instrument. It is a debt instrument. It's an instrument which is issued in the market to borrow money from the market. Now, in the context of municipal bonds, the name itself is self explanatory. The municipalities will issue these particular bonds, raise the money, or collect the money, or borrow the money, use it for certain purposes, use it in the form of a expenditure. In the context of India, the idea or the concept of municipal bonds is not new. The municipal bonds have been there in the market for more than 2 decades now. These have been there in the market for more than 2 decades. But despite this, the amount of money that can be raised by or that has been raised by the municipalities has been very, very less. According to one estimates, in the last 1 decade, the municipalities have been able to raise somewhere around 3,000 crore rupees in the form of municipal bonds. And since inception, it is pegged at somewhere around 5,000 crore rupees. Data is not important, focus on the concept now. What is the issue here? Why the municipalities have not been able to raise the money by issuing the municipal bonds? Because mind you, municipalities require a huge amount of money for development of infrastructure to provide services to the Aam Aadmi common man such as you and me. So the fact of the matter is the municipalities require finances. But when you talk about the municipality revenue, that is the amount of money that is there with the municipalities, a large chunk of the money that is collected by the municipalities comes in the form of transfers which are done by the center as well as the state government. Remember this. According to the RBI data which was published last year, the data simply shows that over a period of time, that is between financial year 17 to financial year 24, between financial year 17 to financial year 24, the amount of funds out of the total money collected by the municipalities from the center as well as the state has increased from 24% to 38%. What is the meaning of it? If the municipalities have 100 rupees, In the financial year 17, 24 rupees of this was because of the center plus state transfers. And this number by the end of the financial year 24 has increased to 38%. In the same duration, the amount of money which is their own resources, that is how much money they have been able to generate on their own, has actually come down. Right? What is the data? It has come down from 43% to 30%. Simple terms, they are able to generate lesser amount of money out of the total money that they have, that is through their own resources. As a percentage I'm talking, and their reliance on the center plus state transfers has increased in this particular duration. In that particular situation, if you look at, the municipal bonds will play a very important role. How so? The municipalities will be able to issue these bonds, collect the money that will be counted as a part of their own resources, and use the money for the development purposes. But why? Why is that despite the municipal bonds being present for more than 2 decades in India, municipalities have not been able to raise too much amount of money? Despite, mind you, despite a lot of times these municipal bonds are guaranteed, I repeat, are guaranteed by either the state government or by the central government. In simple terms, if the municipality doesn't repay, then it is basically repaid by either the state government or the central government, mind you. So, what are the issues? First, very important issue why the municipalities have not been able to raise money through the municipal bonds is the balance sheet of the municipal bonds or municipalities is very, very small. The size of the balance sheet is very, very small. And what is the meaning of it? The amount of money that the municipalities are dealing with in terms of expenditure, in terms of income, etc., it's very small number. It is not attractive enough to invest for large number of investors in the market. Second issue is the financial stability of the municipalities. The financial stability as well as the transparency. A lot of times we see that these municipalities end up incurring a higher amount of expenditure compared to their revenue. Their dependence on somebody else's transfer, that is a center and state transfer, is very high, which is a cause of concern for investors. And a lot of times there is no transparency regarding what is the financial health of these municipalities. That is also the second reason. The third very important reason, earlier it was a more of a reason, but currently I'll tell you the reforms as well. Earlier, the face value of these particular bonds was very, very high. It was pegged at 1 lakh rupees. Face value essentially means what is the value which you will have to pay, which is printed on the instrument. So the face value was very high, and lot of the investors did not have this kind of affordability, did not or could not afford because the face value was very high. But now the face value has been reduced. I'll come to what kind of reforms have been introduced in recent times in order to promote the municipal bonds. The first very important reform is SEBI back in the year 2015. Back in the year 2015 has brought out guidelines regarding issuance of municipal bonds, the process to be followed. In fact, the face value also has been reduced. For example, last year, Indore municipality issued these particular bonds. And very recently also Surat has issued the green bonds, again municipality green bonds. So the Indore municipality, when they issued these particular municipal bonds, the face value was pegged at 1,000 rupees. It was pegged at 1,000 rupees, kept at 1,000 rupees. So they have been made more and more affordable now. And the third very important reform that you need to remember is that SEBI has now allowed investors, that is, a foreign investors, to invest, a foreign portfolio investor or foreign institutional investors to invest in the municipal bonds. And not just this, the government of India has announced an incentive scheme. That is, if the municipalities are able to raise 100 crores by issuing the municipal bonds, the government of India will be providing 13 crore rupees in the form of financial assistance. So these are some of the very important reforms that have been announced. These are the issues and these are the points. Now, what is the update here? Update is very simple. Finance Ministry now says these municipal bonds can be used as collateral, as instruments under repos as well as reverse repo deals. right? Majorly right now, the transactions, whenever it is conducted in the form of repo and reverse repo, majorly the government bonds are used. Specifically, most of it is union government bonds. But now, by providing this facility, including the municipal bonds, a lot of these institutional investors, when they enter into the repo transactions, such as pension funds, such as insurance funds, etc., or mutual funds for that matter, they will be able to use the municipal bonds. And this will lead to a higher demand for the municipal bonds in the market. So these are certain very important points associated with the first article. Now, before I go forward, I have a very important announcement to make. I know a lot of you are preparing for the Civil Services Examination 2026. If you want to ace the examination in the first attempt, ensure that you have sufficient appropriate coverage of the static portion, the correct coverage of the current affairs. You have the right reading material which you can use for revision purposes. You will also have to attempt multiple prelims as well as mains test series. All of this will be available to you once you enroll into our courses. And when you want to enroll and you are in a website, you are searching for these courses in the website, the prices could differ. Don't panic. The price right now is 19,999. Use the code IAS English and automatically the prices will drop down to 19,999. Those interested to enroll, check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description. Now, based on what we have discussed in the first article, let's solve an MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding the municipal bonds. All of these bonds have a face value of 1 lakh rupees. No, this is incorrect. These are regulated by SEBI. Of course, yes. Municipal bonds will come under the regulation of SEBI. Retail investors are barred from buying these bonds. No, retail investors can also invest in the municipal. So, one of the three statements is correct. Right option will be option A. Only one statement is correct. Next article, stable coins. Stablecoins usage for payments jumps 70% since US regulation. Now, what are the important points? Please listen to me carefully. Whenever you come across the currencies, you will come across fiat currency. What's a fiat currency? These are issued through the order of the government. For example, in case of India, rupee coins, rupee notes, these are basically fiat currencies. Opposite to that is basically a decentralized currency, that is digital currencies such as or cryptocurrencies such as right, let's say blockchain based technology currencies such as Bitcoin. Now there is no regulation, there is no centralization. Right? So these particular Bitcoins are decentralized, no centralized authority such as RBI in India which issues the currency. There is no centralized authority in case of Bitcoin. And the reason why there is a lot of demand for these kind of decentralized currencies, especially blockchain based currencies, is that the value is not affected because of the centralized agency. That is, if RBI will increase the money supply, automatically the value of the rupee will go down because too much of money supply means lower will become the value. But in case of the decentralized currencies such as Bitcoin, this is not a concern. But there is always a concern that because it is decentralized, there is no authority which is regulating this. What if there is a crash? Who will guarantee the value of the currency, etc.? And between both of these particular currencies, and now there is one more type of a currency, stable coins. There is one more type of a currency which has come into prominence, and especially with the backing, especially with the backing of the USA government, because the government of USA passed an act by the name of Genius Act. With the implementation of the Genius Act, now the stable coins circulation, stable coins utilization, etc., has improved by how much? More than 70%. Right? According to the data that has been provided here, over $10 billion, over $10 billion worth of stable coins have been utilized to purchase goods and services in the month of August alone. The month of August alone, it has hit $10 billion. Although, listen to me carefully. Although it is $10 billion, when you compare it to the traditional methodologies of payment, where the centralized currencies are used, it is just a fraction. But it is also showing a rising trend of adoption of these kind of currencies. But what is the basic idea of a stable coin here? Stable coins, as the name is suggesting, are nothing but the currencies which are issued, coins which are issued, but with the backing of some asset. There is a backing of certain asset. Traditionally, I'm speaking. Because strictly speaking, or technically speaking, the stable coins can be backed, or the currency value of the stable coin can be maintained either because of there is right a fiat currency that is kept as a reserve backing the stable coin, or there is a crypto that is kept which is backing this particular coin, or else there is an algo that is used which will essentially ensure the changes in the supply and demand in order to maintain the value of the currency. And like I said, or if I have not told this as of now, stable coins essentially are those currencies whose value will remain stable, whose value will remain stable, right? So that is basically the idea of a stable coin. And in the USA, the government of India, like I said, has introduced a Genius Act. And under this particular act, regulatory powers or the promotion of the stable coins has been done. Many of the entities in USA have been allowed, authorized to introduce the stable coins. Most of these particular entities are using the backing of the US dollars. Either they are using the fiat currency of a dollar, or they are using the US treasury bonds. That is the government of USA bonds. They have kept it as a reserve or a backing based on which they have issued the bonds. I'm sorry, they have issued the stable coins in the market. And have a look at this. Just because I'm talking about the USA market and connecting stable coins, it doesn't mean that only in USA there are stable coins. No, around the world there are different countries wherein the stable coins have been promoted, have been regulated, are being utilized. But majority of these particular stable coins are from USA. They have been issued in USA, they are getting circulated in USA, they are being used to purchase goods and services in USA. In fact, the earlier data that I said for the month of August, that is a $10 billion worth of stable coins has been used to purchase goods and services. For the month of August, more than $6 billion out of this is basically the transactions which have been conducted between business to business. Right, so these are certain very important points associated with the article provided here. Again, I'm reiterating this. The stable coins are not new. These are right slightly older, but with the regulation, with the promotion of the government of USA in the form of Genius Act, now the utilization of stable coins is actually picking up. Done. Right. So based on the discussion, let's solve an MCQ here. Consider the following statements regarding the stable coins. These are always backed by fiat currencies. Always backed by fiat currencies? No. It can be a fiat currency. It could be an algo based, right? Let's say stable coin. It could be a crypto backed, right? Let's say stable coin. Stable coins are legal tender in India. Absolutely no. As of now, stable coins, cryptos, etc., these are not legal currencies or legal tender in India. And by the way, what is the meaning of a legal tender? Legal tender simply means whenever you owe certain amount of money, whenever you have a debt to repay, you are legally allowed to use this kind of a money. You are within your legal right to use this kind of a money. For example, if I owe money to you, I can use the currency notes to repay the loan, to repay the borrowing. You cannot deny, you cannot basically say, I will not accept the currency note. Rupee notes, I'll give it to you. You will have to accept the payment. And so that is basically the idea of a legal tender. With adoption of the stable coins, the cross border transfers will become more costlier. Slightly technical statement. What is the issue here? Statement, by the way, is incorrect. With adoption, more and more adoption of the stable coins, it is expected that the cross border transfers will become cheaper. It will become cheaper. Why? Whenever you want to transfer the funds across the border, it will be taking certain time, the time consuming process. Generally, it is stated that It will take days if you want to transfer funds. You will have to basically go through a lot of paperwork. In addition to this, it will also incur certain expenditure. That is, you will have to pay or incur certain expenditure in order to transfer the funds from the one market to another market, that is across the border. With adoption of stable coins, which is basically a crypto, right? I'm saying, which is basically following a blockchain technology, the fund transfers across the border can be done much faster and at a much lower cost. So, with adoption, the cross border transfers will not be costlier. These will become cheaper. These will become more affordable. All the three statements are incorrect. Right option for this question will be option D. Let me go forward now. The manufacturing mission to get 10,000 crore reboot. What is the discussion that is happening here? Listen to me carefully. The government of India in the last 2 decades has implemented multiple reforms to promote manufacturing. It has promoted multiple reforms, announced, implemented multiple reforms to promote manufacturing. For example, when Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, they announced national investment manufacturing zones. And one of the objectives under that was to basically promote manufacturing in India. In fact, even before NIMZ, they had announced special economic zones. One of the objective was to promote manufacturing in India. In fact, under NIMZ, one of the objective was to basically ensure that manufacturing will start contributing 25% to the GDP, which was again later picked up by the next government. They announced a Make in India initiative. Even under Make in India initiative, the government of India simply stated they wanted to ensure manufacturing will contribute 25% to the GDP numbers. But what is the situation right now? According to the latest data, the manufacturing contributes around 13%. I repeat, around 13% to the gross domestic product in India. That is not to say that the production has increased. I hope you understand this. No doubt the production under the, let's say, manufacturing has increased. But as a percentage of the total GDP number, it is a 13%. So the government of India now has announced a new plan. In fact, this was announced in the budget for the financial year 26. So in the budget for the financial year 26, the government of India announced a national manufacturing mission, NMM. Under this particular national manufacturing mission, in the union budget, the government had announced an allocation of 100 crore rupees. Now, the latest update is it will be allocated 10,000 crore rupees. 10,000 crore rupees. Reason being, we want to increase the contribution of manufacturing to GDP. How much? From 13%, we want it to become 25% of the total GDP numbers by 2035. By 2035, we want this to contribute 25% to the GDP. Not just this. There is one more point of concern here. According to the latest data issued by the World Bank, out of the total manufacturing in the global market, out of the total manufacturing in the global market, India's manufacturing accounts around 2.9%. Around 2.9%. And China's manufacturing accounts around 30%. So we want to increase India's manufacturing contribution not only to the GDP in India, but also in the global market. We should start contributing, accounting more and more. We should be considered as a global powerhouse in the manufacturing as well. So, with these objectives, the government has announced or has proposed 10,000 crore rupees, right, for the national manufacturing mission. And under this, what will be done now? Under this, very simple. The government of India basically says, right, have a look at this. Certain sectors would be identified and these would be prioritized. Certain sectors would be identified. For example, right, all of these are listed here. You don't have to memorize, just understand the logic. Certain sectors would be identified and we will target these particular sectors. That is point number one. There is also a recommendation to provide viability gap funding, VGF, viability gap funding. What is this viability gap funding? Whenever you want to promote something, let's say development of infrastructure, industries, etc., there could be a concern associated with the financial viability of the projects. Right? Financial viability, that is, I'm spending so much amount of money, will I be able to generate sufficient amount of returns or not? In that particular context, government of India will provide certain financial assistance. That is called as viability gap funding. There is also a recommendation to promote cluster based development. That is, certain areas would be identified, these will be classified into clusters, and the mission will be promoted in these particular regions. So these are some of the very important reforms that the government of India wants to implement under the National Manufacturing Mission. Right? Based on this, let's solve an MCQ now. Consider the following statements. How many of the statements are correct? Do let me know. India's manufacturing accounts for 2.9% of the global manufacturing. Yes, according to the World Bank data, yes, this is true. India's manufacturing sector accounts for 25% of the total GDP. No, this is incorrect. Only the first statement is correct. Right option will be option A. And before I go forward, I know a lot of you will be wondering, sir, from where do I get all of these notes? You are throwing so much of concepts, so many data sets at me, etc. From where do I, right, let's say, get this data? How do I revise this data, etc.? All you need to do is please go to the description of this particular video. There will be a link provided, Indian Economy Depository or Repository link. Indian Economy Repository link. Click on the link. You'll be taken to a Google Sheet. In the Google Sheet, the links of all the PPTs that I've used earlier, including this one and the future ones as well, the PPTs as well as the notes associated with whatever articles I've covered will be uploaded. Click on these links. These are arranged date wise. Download the PPT, download the handouts, that is the notes, use it for effective revision. Let me go forward. SWAMIH funds. SWAMIH. SWAMIH funds. Now, what is this SWAMIH? Right, listen to me carefully. The full form of SWAMIH is Special Window for Affordable Housing. Special Window for Affordable and and middle income housing. Middle income housing. Right. So this is the full form of SWAMIH. Right. What is the basic idea for SWAMIH? This was announced by the government in the month of November 2019, and the objective was multiple housing projects. Multiple housing projects have got stuck up because of non-availability of funds. The middle income households have invested money in these real estate projects, housing projects, by the way. And because the developer doesn't have the money, many of these particular projects are stuck up in between. In order to revitalize, in order to ensure these particular projects will be, right, let's say, restarted, completed, and the housing units will be given back or given to, handed over to the investors, the government of India announced Swamiha funds. This particular fund is being managed by SBI Cap. Please remember all of these particular points. SBI Capital. It is managed by SBI Capital, and this is registered as an alternative investment fund. AIF, Alternative Investment Fund. Right. So these are certain very important points. Now, what is the update? The update is very simple. The Reserve Bank of India, which is a regulator here, the Reserve Bank of India has announced that, right? Basically, the investments that will be done by the regulated entities. Again, when I say regulator, RBI is the regulator for these regulated entities. For example, NBFCs. For example, banks. So these particular regulated entities which are going to invest in these particular funds, that is Swamiha funds, now listen to me carefully, will be given certain relaxations in terms of provisioning norms. Whenever these entities are investing in the AIFs, there are a lot of conditions. There are a lot of regulations imposed by the market regulator. For example, these entities are not allowed to invest more than 10% of the total fund value in case of AIF. Now, RBI simply says, if this is a regulated entity and if they're investing in the Swamiha, right, which is basically an right alternative investment fund, these regulations would be relaxed. And what is the use of these kind of relaxations? The use will be now these regulated entities will be allowed to invest a more amount of money without having to be worried about the regulations, right, or provisioning norms announced by Reserve Bank of India, which is applicable to all the other investors. It will be able to attract investments easily, and this will help in, let's say, providing the funding for, right, let's say these the housing projects which are stuck up, right. So this is a very important update associated with the Swamiha funds. Next one, National Household Income Survey, NHIS. What is this National Household Income Survey? Listen to me very carefully. For the first time ever, the National Household Income Survey will be initiated, will be completed starting 2026, and the results will be announced in 2027. The government of India now has announced NHIS, and when I say government, specifically which ministry? Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. MOSPI has announced that the first ever household income survey will be right completed in 2026, and the results will be announced in 2027. But what is this National Household Income Survey? What is the concept behind it? And is it the first time that the government of India has considered conducting this kind of a survey? Listen to me carefully. In case of India, whenever you talk about, let's say, data, we collect a lot of data in terms of production activities done by the companies, in terms of expenditure done by the households, etc. But so far, we have not been able to collect a data which is a credible data in terms of what is the amount of expenditure, what is the amount of income generated by households in India. I hope you understand this. Some of the data sets are available in the market, but there are no credible data sets conducted or collected by the government which will tell you the information regarding how much is the total income generated by households. What are the different sources of income? What is the annual income? All this data, we have tried it, by the way. Between 1950s and 1970s, we have tried multiple times to collect this particular data. But the reason has been that the households, when you go to the households and ask for the income data, households are not forthcoming. According to the survey which has been conducted, that is basically to find out what are the issues. That the pre-survey has been conducted by the government. More than 80% of the individuals are shy. They do not want to disclose their income tax data. They do not want to disclose the income data. They do not want to disclose how much assets they are owning. They do not want to disclose what are the different sources through which they are earning income. For multiple reasons. For example, even today, if I have a government badge, if I come to you, I show you the badge and say, I'm from the government. Can you please tell me all the sources of income? You yourself will not be open to sharing all of this particular income. So it's not that earlier we have not tried. Yes, we have tried. Three times we have tried. In different ways we have tried. And this is not the only issue only issue faced by India, by the way. Globally, also, any country that has practiced or has tried to conduct a household income survey, in most of the cases, the same issue has been found. The households are not forthcoming in terms of sharing the income related data to the surveyors. But now, Government of India finally has stated we will conduct the first National Household Income Survey (NHIS). And what is the use of this particular, let's say, survey? Like I said, we are collecting different data sets. We have data set in terms of expenditure done by the households. We have data set for employment, unemployment. We have data set for production. We have data set for supply. Right. So out of all the data sets which we have collected, one data set that is missing is household incomes. And this will help us because we want to make policies. We want to find out how much is the right, let's say, sources, different sources of income, what way the households are earning, where is the lacunae, right? What is the issue with, let's say, different sources of income? Why are they not able to leverage it, right, etc. When you have this kind of a data, it will always help you in effective implementation as well as making of policies. So next year, the government of India will be conducting India's first ever complete national household income survey. Last article for this particular week, new Ratna categories. What is the discussion here? Right now, we have three types of statuses. Most importantly, I'm talking. Somebody might simply say, sir, there is a division here, etc. Don't worry. Most important categories are we have right mini Ratnas, we have mini Ratna, we have Navaratna, and we also have Maharatna. That is the government owned by, I'm sorry, the entities owned by the government of India are generally classified, the companies owned are classified into these categories. Mini Ratna, Navaratna, and Maharatna. And what is the use of this kind of a categorization? One, we will be promoting better right production activity or economic activities by these entities. Why? Once you're classified into either one of these categories, certain relaxation, certain freedom is given to you. You don't have to go back to the government in all the decision making procedures. You don't have to wait for the government to give you the nod. Lot of freedom, lot of investment relaxations are provided to you once you're classified into these kind of status. But now government of India simply says, if you want to achieve the status of developed economy by 2047, the central public sector enterprises will play a very important role. They'll play a very important role. And in that particular context, we need to have better mechanism. We need to have a better approach to classifying these kind of entities. So now there is a proposal. As of now, it's a proposal. Now there is a proposal to have two more categories of Ratna status. That is, in addition to these three, again, I'm saying it's a proposal. Finally, what the government might do is, right, merge two of them or remove one of the categories and add two more. Whatever it is done, as of now, the proposal is we want to have two more categories of Ratna CPSCs. What is the name, etc., has not been provided, but this particular category now will have a better kind of, right, let's say, the features or let's say parameters to identify the CPSC. For example, is this CPSC focused on protection of environment? Is this particular CPSC implementing ESG guidelines? Is this CPSC has right? Let's say the next generation leadership already ready, etc. So different types of parameters would be considered. Again, I'm saying it's a proposal as of now. Would be considered, and we will have two more categories of Ratna CPSCs. And so this is one proposal that is being discussed by the government of India. And once it is implemented and nothing else is changed, in addition to these three, we will also have two more categories of CPSCs. In fact, please remember these particular points, that is Mini Ratna, Navaratna, as well as Maharatna. And one more very important point, there is a committee which has been set up by the government of India associated with this. The committee is being headed by TV Somanathan. The committee is headed by TV Somanathan. Right. So these are certain very important points associated with the categorization of central public sector enterprises. So these are the various articles as well as the concepts and the questions I wanted to discuss with you people in today's video. If you have liked this discussion, please do let me know by clicking on the like button. If you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. That's it in today's discussion. Next week, again, we will meet. I'll bring out important economy related articles from different newspapers and we will have a detailed discussion on those articles. That's it from my side. Take care. See you next week.